Why can't the black community move forward and go any further than it's been? Because we have a group of Negroes who are crabs in a bucket. What is a crab in a bucket Negro? A crab in a bucket Negro is a Negro who aspires to be the H Nice. What is the H Nice? The H Nice is the title Head Negro in Charge. And the head Negro in charge position is not a physical position, it is a psychological position. It is a position that many Negroes live to achieve over other Negroes. And they feel that if they are the H Nice, they can dictate the terms of what goes on in the black community. What happens with this Negro who wants to be the H Nice in many cases is that the Negro who is the H Nice or aspires to be the H Nice is usually at the bottom with the other Negroes. And what they want to do is be able to say that they have complete control over all the other Negroes and that they can go and tell white people, you know, that they are the ones in charge of this Negro, they're the ones controlling these Negroes, and they don't think about, they live for the approval of these white and non-black people. And because we have these Negroes at the bottom, nobody can rise to the top. And this is what the big problem is in this Negro Afro-American Negro community. We have a whole bunch of people at the bottom, and no one wants anyone else to come above them. And the saddest part is we have an entire layer of H nice Negroes at the bottom. They prevent anyone from, coming above them. And and who are these H nice Negroes, these crab in a bucket Negroes? They are your Negro pastors, your pro black, red, black, and green Negroes. They are your buck dancing, bojangling politicians. They are your Afro American Negro entertainers. And they are even, in many cases, your Negro women, and some cases, some of your educated Negroes. These Negroes feel that they've accomplished a little, so they want to remain a buffer layer, that keeps anybody from rising above them. And because they don't want anyone to come above them, they make efforts to sabotage every other black person in the black community. So they want to keep everybody at that bottom layer, under them. So they make every effort to keep people from coming above them. Really, that whole these crab in a bucket Negroes, they spend most of their time either fighting each other or they spend their time tearing down the next man. And because they spend their time doing this, your Afro American Negro community goes nowhere. It remains actually stagnant in the same spot it was 40 years ago because many of these Negroes don't aspire to be anything but, again, a H nice, head Negro in charge. They want to be able to say they represent the views and opinions of the community to white people. And the white people they want to impress really are white liberals in most cases because they're the only people who they think the world is going to listen to regarding the Afro American community. But what these crab in a bucket Negroes really do is that they stifle anything in their African American community, they stifle any sort of growth, and they try to squash any sort of ideas. These crab in a bucket Negroes keep anything from moving forward. The whole thing is that they want, they don't want they don't want a diverse array of views in the African American community. They want one set of views in the African American community. And they want everybody to think the same way. This is why I can agree with David Carroll when he makes the point about monolithic thought. This is what the crab in a bucket Negroes, the buffer Negroes, want. They want everybody to think the same way, to act the same way, to behave the same way. They want to create one definition of Negro that fits within a narrative of white liberals. They really want, a can. They want to can a lid on the African American Negro community. And they really have done a great job of doing that over the last 40 years. These crab in a bucket Negroes, they live to tear out down other Negroes, because they're jockeying for that top spot in the eyes of these slave masters. And the sad part is, the position that they're aspiring to get is, again, it's inside their head. It's not a physical position. That's what makes it insane, because you keep jockeying for this position and trying to win approval of someone else, not understanding how much power you have given away. And these crab in a bucket Negroes, again, spend so much time um, jockey giving away their power, they wind up making their community completely powerless. Um, because all these crab in a bucket Negroes, living for the approval of white people, living to make white people happy, living to keep other blacks from coming up and showing, a different view of blackness, is it prevents the black community from being what it could have been. Because when we look at these groups inside of this who have this crab in a bucket mentality, they pretty much have stifled the African American community in so many ways. And in many cases, the community now is starting to regress, because a lot of these Negroes, these crab in a bucket Negroes, are so codependent. They want to go back to any position that makes them into that victim. They don't want to rise, because if you rise, what happens is you can no longer say that you are a victim anymore, and that you have to, most importantly, start taking responsibility for yourself as individuals. And that really is something that your crab in a bucket Negro doesn't want to do. As long as there's somebody's falling down, they can go and say that somebody's hurt and that they need to be picked up, instead of the person learning how to pick themselves up. And this is the big problem with your crab in a bucket Negro. Your crab in a bucket Negro, you know, they don't want to see anybody come up. They don't want to see anybody move forward. They don't want to see the black community go anywhere and do anything. They don't want to see black people being responsible for themselves, black people taking care of their own, black people's having their own businesses, black people having their own infrastructure, and black people, being able to support other black people. No, these crab in a bucket Negroes, they want to continue to remain dependent on others, and they continue to want to remain in that victim position, because again, they believe the victim position is a position of power. So they make every effort to tear down any other black person who appears like they're going to do something that will show that black people can do on their own without the dependence of a government program or a white sponsor or any sort of crutch that they need to carry. They don't like seeing those type of black people come about, because if that type of black person starts representing their ideas and their values to the world as what stands for what's black, then they cannot go over to these liberal politicians and these other people and beg for some crumbs, because then if this guy's doing it on his own, they're going to start asking him, why can't you do it on your own? And most importantly, many of the other Negroes in the community may start looking at this person as a model, and if they start looking at him as a model, that means they won't go to them and see them as the H nice, because they need to be, in order for them to be seen as the H nice and seen as the most successful, there can't be any other models. As I've stated before, what they want to do is be the only model and create the only narrative in the Afro-American Negro community. See, the crab in a bucket Negro wants everybody dependent on them, and they want to be able to dictate the terms and conditions in the African American community. This is why they tear other people down. They don't want any competition. And this group of Negroes, they don't want any competition in the Afro-American community, presenting new models for growth in the African American community. What they want to do is be the only ones, and they will spend time, fighting each other, because again, their ultimate goal is to be the only one and the only narrative. And that's completely backwards, because when you really look at it, that's like a sheep mentality. It's like everybody's following you and yours is the only way. That's completely backwards. There is no one way to be black. But when it comes down to these Negroes, they want to be able to say that there's only one way to be black, um, and that everybody has to follow this one way to be black in order to be black. And they want to be able to they want to be able to dictate, the terms of what black is in the black community. They want to be able to control what the terms are in the black community, and they want to create this buffer wall between the world and the black community. And because they want to be the buffer, whenever somebody comes to challenge them, or some society comes to, to ask some hard questions of them, they try to use their position, one, to intimidate people, and then two, they try to use that same position to convince others to agree with them, so that they will start, attacking that person using shaming tactics and bully tactics to silence them. Again, they want to be the only voice that is heard that represents your Afro-American Negro community. They want to be the only voice. And I made, reference to this in my other video, the Unholy Trinity, which was your Negro pastor, your pro-black Afrocentric, and can't remember the third one, but and oh yeah, your white liberal politician. They all want to control. They all want to make everything, be heard through one voice. And I really believe, we need to hear other voices and other opinions. And there's a big difference between a crab in a bucket Negro and a critic. A critic is making observations that point out, you know, dysfunction, and they also offer solutions. A critic is making points that, you really need to take a look at. But a crab in a bucket Negro is a person, they'll make points, but they won't offer any solutions whatsoever. You won't hear a single solution from, a crab in a bucket Negro. They'll talk about the problem, and they'll talk around the problem, but they won't have a solution. A critic will have solutions right there in their answers, and then if you listen to the critic, they have the answers right in front of you. But with this crab in a bucket Negro, they live to tear down other Negroes, and the reason why they want to do that again is because they want to be the H nice, and they want to be the only representatives of what is black to white and non-black people, and they want to be the ones who dictate the terms and conditions to other Negroes, so that everybody falls in line and everybody does things their way. And if you're not doing things their way, they make efforts to eliminate you from the circle, or to bully you out of your position, or bully you out of any position, and they make every effort to silence you. And this is the sad state of affairs regarding your Afro-American community. Instead of people working together to build a community, instead people work against each other and tear each other down. And because they live to tear each other down, your Afro-American Negro community has not gone anywhere in the last 40 years, and still remains one of the poorest places in the world. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.